So last year, Coller Capital received a Responsible Investment Award from the British Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, it was really nice to have our efforts recognised in that way.
And it was a first for the firm, but also a first for a purely focused secondaries fund. Can you explain a bit about how ESG works in a secondaries context?
Well, as a private equity secondaries investor, we've built a powerful platform with which to reach out to underlying GPs and make change happen. We're also quite unique within private equity as a hybrid manager and investor. So for us, when it comes to thinking about ESG, it's essentially a matter of taking a view on how much influence we have and what our ability to make that change happen at underlying manager level will be.
And are there limitations as to what you can do on ESG as a secondary?
Clearly there's a spectrum. When you think about traditional fund positions, you end up in a situation where you may be one of 100 or more investors into a fund. And so clearly in that situation you'll have less ability to influence. But it doesn't mean you can't do anything. And if you don't ask, you don't get. And certainly from an ESG perspective, we believe that better analysis of ESG leads to better investment decision making and better engagement. So for fund positions, for all secondary investments that we make, we will undertake that ESG analysis to help us make more informed decisions. Mm-hmm. But at the other end of the spectrum, where we are maybe the sole investor or one of a handful of investors, clearly we have the opportunity to ask many more questions at due diligence, but also to follow up post-investment and do some real engagement with an underlying manager.
And what role do you specifically play in this?
Well, I sit in the investment team, and so before we have our investment committee meeting, I will make sure that there is an ESG comment for everything that comes our way. So the process involves me taking a view on every investment that we see and asking questions of the deal team and of the underlying GP and in many cases the underlying companies that will be in that fund as to what their material ESG issues are likely to be and how they're being managed.
So do you think every GP should have an operational approach to ESG then?
We're not the ESG police. We view ourselves as ESG coaches. We recognise that everyone's got their own investment mandate, their own culture, their own approach. And within the mandate that you have, all we would say is, are you really making the impact that needs to happen? Given the issues often do reside within the portfolio, we feel there should be a focus on the investment process and on portfolio company operations. We do believe that ESG is about value, your values and culture, and we think that the best way is to engage with portfolio companies.
So from your position, as you review fund managers' ESG programs, what does good look like, and is there anything that would give you cause for concern?
First and foremost, it's how they come across, what their organisational culture is. Are they willing to engage with us on ESG? How open and honest are they? Is ESG skin deep? We're seeking to understand how they do what they do, and we'll have a conversation about how ESG fits into that process. We recognise that there are many cases where ESG is an unfamiliar term to a manager, or they may call it something else. So we're simply trying to understand how they make investments, how they analyse investments, how they may then engage with underlying investments.
So then what's next for ESG at Coller Capital?
So we believe if we're asking underlying managers to do the right thing on ESG, that we ourselves should walk the talk. And so at a firm level, we're going to be going carbon neutral during 2019. We'll also continue to promote the view that ESG is about values, organisational values and culture.
Well, as Coller Capital is a signatory to the Principles for Responsible Investment, it's really gratifying to us to see the progress that you're making, particularly from such a position of influence, and really excited to see what you do next. So thank you very much.
Thank you.